Hi, I'm Chris, and I think I just may have found the perfect solution for my mobile and compact camera setup. In this video, let's check out the Rode Wireless Go 2 and the Lavalier Go. Enjoy! Let's start with the Lavalier Go, but first let's have a look at the packaging. Here it says that it's compatible to the Wireless Go. And on the back it also says that it's fully compatible with the Rode Wireless Go transmitter. And here you can see what comes in the package: the microphone, the pop shield, a clip and a pouch. Let's open it. Here is the pouch, and inside the pouch we get the microphone, and the clip. And the warning: you can take off the pop shield and then take off the warning. And now let's connect it to the clip. Press here, insert the mic, and then you can add the pop shield again, like that. Okay, now let's see the Wireless Go. First, let's have a look at the packaging. Here you can see the receiver and the two transmitters. Okay, now let's open it. Okay, so this is the pouch. Here you get 3 USB cables. Let's see. And 1 audio cable with TRS connection. And a little quick start guide. Let's see. Let's see what it says on the back. And the receiver is protected by this little plastic thing. And quality assurance. On this side there is the USB-C connector and the audio output. Then the power button. And here we have the gain control and the pair button. And this is one transmitter with USB-C connection, quality assurance, power on off button, then the connector for the external mic, the internal mic, and 2 indicator lights, one for battery and one for the connection. And that's where you screw on the windshield. Yeah, that's strong. So here is everything you get in the two boxes. Now let's see if there is a firmware update for the receiver and the transmitters. But before we do that, let's see if they can connect with each other. Therefore, let's look at the quick start guide. And here it says that you push and hold the power button for 3 seconds. So let's do that. Okay, that looks good. Now let's switch on one of the transmitters. And you can see the lights turning on. And it seems to be low on battery because it's flashing here. But let's see if we can see it here. And yes, there is number 2 showing up, and you can also see that it's low on battery here. So let's switch on the next one. And it's the same, it's also flashing here. And now we can see the second one. And it also indicates that it's low on battery. Okay, so it seems to be working. Now let's switch them off again. And let's take the MacBook and go onto the Rode Wireless Go 2 website and install Rode Central. I will switch to the display now. So here I am on the official website from Rode and on the product page of the Rode Wireless Go 2. If you scroll down on the page, then you will see a menu item Rode Central. Click there and it will jump to the part on the lower part of the page. And if you scroll down a little bit, there you can see the download for Mac and Windows. I will use the Mac download. Then you have to select your operating system and enter your email. Then click on download. Okay, now let's open the download folder. And double click on the installer. Continue, continue, agree and install. All right. Then go to Applications and open Rode Central. Next, Rode Central will ask you to connect the devices. So let's do that. Let's see if I can use this USB hub to connect all the devices at once. Therefore, let's plug in the power. And then insert this in the USB connection. And now use one of the cables. And let's start with the receiver. On the display, you can now see update required. Okay, the update is complete now. And here you see Rode Wireless Go 2 firmware version 1.6. That looks good. Now let's connect the transmitter and it also says that an update is required. In the moment it has version 1.00, so let's update. Okay, update complete. And now we see the receiver here, RX, and the transmitter, both with the version 1.6.0. So now let's connect the second transmitter. And this also requires an update and also got version 1.0.0. So let's update. Okay, update complete. Done. So now in Rode Central we see all three devices have the firmware 1.6.0 and it says select a device to get started. So let's select first the receiver. And here we can select different options. For example, if you want backlight on or off, I will keep it on. Then how you want your gain mode, the default is fine. Then you can switch it to coarse, but I will keep it on fine. And you can set your gain here. The default is -12 dB. So let's see. And it goes in increments of 3. All the way down to -30 decibels. So let's keep it on 12 for now. And then you can set the mode. It's set on split now, but you can switch to merged. And if you switch to merged, you free your second channel and you can use it as safety channel. Safety channel means that it will record the second track with lower decibels levels. But I keep this off for now and I keep it on split mode. And here you can select what the power on, power off button does. The default is backlight on off. You can set it to marker if you want to press the button to mark a special audio portion. But I will keep it on backlight for now. The battery is on 88% and the device time I can synchronize here with the computer. Let's try. Okay, it's the same time as my computer. And that's it for the receiver. Let's go back and select the transmitter. Okay, that didn't work. Let's see. Well, probably it has problems with the USB hub. Let's disconnect the receiver and see. I think the transmitters switch themselves off. So let's power them on again. Yes, shows up again. And now it says no recordings available. Let's click here on this little cog wheel. And here we see the record setting is set to backup. You can change this to off and to always. I will put it on always because I want the on-device recording. So if the connection to the receiver drops, then I still have a recording on the transmitter itself. Here the pad is set to off. Let's see. Can switch it on. I will have to check what this does. I think it lowers the volume on the transmitter. Let's keep it off for now. And the LEDs are set to bright. You can change them to dim or to bright. I will leave it on the default of bright for now. And here you can select the function of the power button. Now it's set to mute, to none, to marker, or to mute. I will switch it to none so that I'm sure that when I press the button it's recording. And here you can select the recording quality. I will use uncompressed. And here you can sync the clock. So now let's power on the second transmitter. Okay. And set this also to the same settings. So instead of backup, always, let's try something. Let's keep it on backup, and now you can select if you want standard quality compressed or broadcast quality uncompressed. So if you switch to always, you get uncompressed and cannot select anything different. And let's change the power button also to none. Okay, like that. Perfect. So that's the setting I will start with. So next I will fully charge the devices and then I will continue with the video. Okay, and we are back. As you can see, the indicator light stopped flashing, so now they should be fully charged. Let's reconnect them again to see if anything has changed after the firmware update. Let's put this aside for now. And first let's turn on the receiver. Hold it for 3 seconds. And there we are. So as you can see, it is set to -12 dB, as we did in Road Central before. Now let's turn on the transmitter. And here we can see that we have the connection. Let's see. Okay, number 1 is showing up here. As you can see, it is already recording as a standalone device. And on the lower part we see the input level of the first transmitter. The bar on the top is the output gain for the audio connection on the side. Let's turn on the second transmitter. And there we have the other connection, and this is also recording already as indicated with these red letters here. And both are used as separate channels. If you want to merge the channels, you would press these 2 buttons at the same time. Let's try it. Now you can see just 1 bar as the output gain. If you want to go back to split mode, just press them again. And now we have them separate in split mode again. And with this button you can select between the transmitters. For example, if you click once, then you see this frame, and if you press here, then you can mute the first transmitter. Now I'm only recording on the second channel. To switch it on again, you go and select it and press this button. Now both are recording again. As you might have noticed, the first transmitter was recording all the time on the device itself, but the output from the receiver didn't send the signal from the first transmitter. Another thing to note is that the small bars on the bottom just indicate the input level from the first transmitter. The bars on the top indicate the signal strength going out of the receiver in the audio cable to the camera. And if you just press this button and you don't have a transmitter selected, then you can change the decibels for the receiver itself. So if you press 1, then it goes 3 decibels louder. Press again, 6, and so on. And then it starts back at -30, and I will set it back to -12 now. Okay, so now let's take them outside and test what we can do with them. As you can see, we have a very windy day today, and I thought that's the perfect opportunity to test how well the windscreen performs on the transmitter. In the moment I'm filming on the GoPro Hero 7 Black, and I'm using the transmitter on its own and recording on the device. I hope you can hear me. Let's see in the studio. Okay, now I switch the setup. I'm still using the microphone on my neck, but this time the signal is going into the receiver, which is mounted on my gimbal setup. Let me show you. As you can see, I'm using the Zhiyun Crane M2 as my gimbal, and on top of it I mounted the UU-Rig camera cage with my Sony RX100 Mark VII. In the front I have the MAC filter adapter ring together with an ND filter. Let's switch the camera around. And here you can see the receiver on the side, which feeds the signal via this red cable to the microphone input on the side of the camera. And optionally you can mount the second transmitter to get forward-facing sound. In the moment you are just listening to the transmitter, which is mounted on my neck. Let's flip around the display to show you how you can move it. If you take off the windscreen, you can move it all the way down. Another possibility would be to disconnect the transmitter from the gimbal and place it closer to a sound source, like these waves for example. And if you want to get even closer, like for example to animals, you could use a shotgun microphone like the Video Micro, connect it to the transmitter and send the signal like this to your camera. Okay, next let's make the distance test. Rode claims that the wireless Go 2 can reach up to 200 meters. So I measured the distance and I will go all the way there to see if we have still signal. I will wear the microphone here on my neck, and the receiver is mounted on the side of the cage, which is on a tripod. So let's go. So here is my first marker, which is placed at 100 meters distance. And now I will go further to 150 meters. So here I have my second marker, which is at the distance of 150 meters. And now I will go all the way back to 200 meters, and I hope you can still see me there. And here is the final marker, which I placed at 200 meters. I'm still in line of sight, and the transmitter is facing the camera. I hope you can hear me from this distance. Okay, and now we are back in the studio. Let's make some indoor tests. First, let's connect the receiver to the MacBook to see if we can use the microphone as an input device for the MacBook. Therefore, let's connect it via USB-C. Switch it on. And now let's power on the transmitter. Okay. And you can see it's on the first channel. If you would use this with Skype, you should switch to the merged channel. But I want to show you something cool in GarageBand, so let's leave it in split mode. Let's go to System Preferences. And here to Sound. And as you can see, Wireless Go 2 RX is shown as an input device. But in the moment, it's very low here. If I move this closer to my mouse, you can see that we are using this as input. Now, let's power up GarageBand. Let's start a new project. And here we can see my instrument is connected with Wireless Go 2 RX. Let's switch to input 1. Create. And if I hold this to my mouse, you can see that we are already talking into the audio track 1. Now let's switch on the second one. Okay, it's turned on. And let's add an additional track on input 2. Create. And now let's arm both of the tracks. Therefore, click right on the track, configure track header, and select Record Enable. And now we can arm both audio tracks like this. And if I start a recording, we should see one transmitter recorded on one audio track and the other one on the second. Let's try. So the recording has started. Now I'm taking the first one and hold it close to my mouse. And as you can see, we get the input on the first track. Now let's put this down and take the second one and hold this close to my mouse. And as you can see, we are recording now on the second track. And this would be a very good setup for recording a podcast. You can clip one to one person and the other transmitter to the other person, and then later in post-production split the signal. Okay, now let's do another test. Next, let's try if we can connect the receiver to my old iPhone, which is an iPhone 6s Plus that still has the audio input jack as in the former iPhones. For this, there's a special cable from Rode where you connect the gray side to your iPhone and the black side to an external microphone, like this. Let's switch this on. And for testing, let's use Filmic Pro. And let's switch to the preferences, audio. As you can see, it would use the headset microphone now. But in the moment we don't get any input level. So let's turn on one of the transmitters. Okay, like that. And it shows up on the receiver and also here on the Filmic Pro app. So as you can see, it's working perfectly together with the Filmic Pro app. Next, let's test something different. Okay, now let's test the Zoom H6 recorder together with the Rode Wireless Go 2 receiver. Therefore, we will make two tests. One with the XY capsule, which has an audio input jack here on the side, and then we use the Rode VXLR Plus adapter, which converts the audio input jack to XLR, and we can put it here on the side. So let's start. Let's mount the capsule. Switch on the Zoom recorder. And then we put this here. And of course we have to switch the receiver on. And now let's hit record. And I already can hear some interference. Okay, let's switch on the microphone. And let's mount this to my neck. But as you can hear, there is an interference. Now let's use the VXLR Plus adapter. Let's hit record. Okay. And now you're listening to the transmitter which is mounted to my neck. And let's see if we get an interference here as well. Now, here I have to turn it down a little bit, but there's no interference with this. So you can use the Rode VXLR Plus adapter but I wouldn't recommend using the XY capsule because of the interference. Okay, let's stop this. And this concludes the tests for now. If you liked the video, please leave me a like. For more videos like this, subscribe, and I see you in the next one. Bye bye.